Good evening, everybody. This is Judd at White Wave Trading Strategies. The question we're going to try to answer tonight is, has the fever broken? You know, there are a few interesting things that, I've been following. And the S&Ps, the metals, all of it. So let's just get to a couple of the bigger charts. First, we're going to go look at the gold. You know, the metals broke out above this 4,400 level, which was a target. The first time it went up there, it was in October, 1st of October, and I got out and it came back down. That was the high in the silver as well. It matched up. And, this exercise of going through this is just showing you that the gold prices are leading all metals. You know, we came up to the next big fib target, basically around 5,400 in the gold. It went up there on a Wednesday, and typically I usually get out of everything, all the gold, all the silver, all my metals that day. And, the fever grabbed me for another day, and I held out into Thursday, and then when it started rolling back through 5,400, the trade was over. And that was the top. That was the top in the silver, it was the top in the gold, it was the top in the platinum, it was the top in everything. And it was the top in the copper when it hit targets that have been on my sheet for almost a decade. So now let's go back and try to take a look at some of the other shorter time frames. The daily continuation tonight went down to $65, the bottom of the cloud, and held. And now you have an upsloping cloud. So if it can sustain here and start building again, then the silver rally can continue from here. It's still going to trade more off the gold than the silver, but I was originally this morning during the day, I was looking at around, I wanted to see a 68 or 69 print during the day session just to flush out everybody below unchanged on the year and then look for a low. Well, it went a little lower than I thought early this evening and held and then took off again. The S&Ps, same deal. It went down to spike the bottom of the cloud, held, and the S&Ps and NASDAQ tomorrow are all going to be about where the closes are. And the guys that follow me and have my numbers, I'm looking for closes above my static levels. Otherwise, we're going to take another trip lower. I have lower targets that it can go to. I can see that we can come down into the 23,000 level. Closer to 24,000 in the NASDAQ. And the S&Ps have lower targets. And if you just look at this and you just use the April low, and that's what we're kind of following right now, I'm looking below 6,600. So we have to take it a day at a time and a level at a time. There were nice matches on the lows today in Google and some other names, but they all don't line up together. I mean, today's low in Google, just ran everybody out. And if you look at the low, it was right into the cloud when we went down to the first time we went down to 6,800 level in the S&Ps and rallied, and Google kept on rallying. So as the other names in the indices were breaking. So you really have to take a look at each name and trade it off its own technicals. You know, Microsoft is another one. You know, this has come down into, oops, sorry, let me get rid of that. You know, it came down into this, close from April where everything took off into May. And now we've just taken 6 months worth of work in Microsoft of rally and it's gone. So this has to set up again. But longer term, you know, when you look at the clouds, they're all positive. So again, it's going to be trade location and timing. Gold, I'm still looking for another few weeks before I think I'm looking for a longer term bottom. At least I'll have some trade location that tells me that I want to give it a go. You know, this is the short-term chart in long S&P, short gold, and you can see where, you know, the S&Ps have been negative for a long time. You know, we got when the S&Ps broke out of the bottom of the cloud, that was the last $600 in the gold that we were looking for to the $5,400 target level. You know, the same thing can be said about silver. So these are, you know, they're all kind of moving in tandem. And today, you know, tonight, when you look at it, the silver, you know, went up to the bottom of the cloud and now turned around and is trying to bottom against the S&Ps again. So these are the charts that are leading the show and what I've been looking at. So this 50-day moving average is going to be big, and it's really how we close around, how we respond to the 6,800 level tomorrow and where we close. So that's all for tonight. It just gives you a little food for thought about what I'm looking at. You can see where the silver topped against the S&Ps last week, midweek, and now it's trying to extend. So we'll see how that plays out. All right, that's it for tonight. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to come into the room and give us a try, just go to whitewavetradingstrategies.com, put your name and email in, and come in for a trial and see what it's about. You know, we're not, you know, a short-term trading group. My subscribers, they're options traders, they're swing traders, there's global macro guys that put things on for much longer time frames. So you know, these are just, it's not mouse clicking. So come on in and see what it's about. It's thoughtful trading at a level, managing your risk. You know, in the S&Ps, we'll look for a minimum of 25 points. Most of the guys look for anywhere from 50 to 80 points a trade. You know, right now you can't even look at the silver unless you're trading for $2 or $3. And you know, the other thing that's kind of looking pretty good right now is that the oil's trying to find footing again. So that's all I have for tonight.